Keep in mind that in the spinal cord you're going to have white matter and gray matter. The gray matter is for integration, and the white matter is basically the roadway carrying information along the axons. So there are certain parts of the spinal cord that you need to recognize. You have to notice that there's a butterfly of gray matter in the center, and that gray matter is labeled posterior gray horn, lateral gray horn, and anterior gray horn. Keep in mind also that here we see an anterior median fissure. So when you notice this deep fissure here, that is the anterior portion of the spinal cord. And this makes a huge difference because the anterior portion of the spinal cord carries the motor information, and the dorsal or posterior portion carries the sensory information. You'll also notice here in the center of the butterfly is a central canal that carries cerebral spinal fluid. In this chapter, the nuclei does not represent the nucleus of the cell, but rather it is a group of neuron cell bodies in gray matter located in the spinal cord. So the sensory nuclei receive and relay sensory information, and the motor nuclei issue motor commands to effectors. Again, the effectors will be muscles, glands, and adipose tissue. The gray commissure is joins the two halves of the butterfly, containing axons that cross from side to side, and it surrounds the central canal. Notice the arrows. So incoming information is sensory information coming in this dorsal root or posterior root. It goes through a dorsal root ganglion, and outgoing or motor information leaves through this anterior or ventral root. The white matter is organized. It's bilaterally symmetrical. There are 3 columns on each side of the spinal cord. The posterior white column is between the posterior gray horns, and the posterior median sulcus. The lateral white column is between the anterior and posterior columns, and the anterior white column is between the anterior gray horns. White matter is organized in tracts or possibly roadways. A tract is a bundle of axons in the central nervous system, and this is quite similar to a nerve in the peripheral nervous system. So incoming or ascending information carries sensory information in the posterior columns, and descending tracts or outgoing information carry motor commands in the anterior columns. Which of these landmarks is found on the anterior or ventral surface of the spinal cord? The median fissure.